All right, back by popular demand is we have a new special guest who is the same exact special guest that we had last time. You want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. I'm back.
Yeah, she's back because it seems like that was the most popular thing, I think people are tired of me going solo and they just want to hear a different voice now. So, and also your advice last time was relatively good, don't you think?
Thank you.
Okay.
I hope I have helped a lot of teenagers and young millennials. Our
Exactly.
target.
Exactly. So I think this episode will premiere on Sarcastically Optimistic, but we're hoping that this will take off in its own journey, that this podcast or this episode will be kind of a preview of what another project might come about, which is something that we thought about. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah, go. Go ahead.
You. I thought you introduced the title so they will know
Oh.
what they're gonna hear.
So we're back and forth with the title. We're not quite sure. Maybe people will decide that. But we were thinking of "Let Me Go" or something like that. "Let Me Go." I don't know. That sounds a very like an aggressive title. But do you want to explain what the premise of the podcast is about?
All right. I heard that there's a lot of you that cannot approach or talk to your parents because you're either scared, you are pessimistic that they're gonna just turn you down, and a lot of them are negative because they belong to the what we call the oldies generation. So you cannot have like a middle stage where you can really converse and get positive remarks from them. So that's why we are doing this, so we can help a lot of you who cannot approach your parents.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly it. We're trying to break the mold of the stigma that you can't really communicate with your parents. I know it's very difficult for most of us to communicate with our parents, but I hope that this project that we're undertaking, potentially, if this does well, will help a lot of people in that way, that they can be helped navigating that conversation. And that conversation is probably one of the, if not the most complicated and complex conversation to navigate with your parents, I think. And luckily, since we're in the same house now, we can do this project together because I think we have a good thing going on, I'd say. So we're pretty transparent with each other, which is really good. And it all starts with transparency. So yeah, like we don't want you to treat this as a very sad thing, because we're going to be discussing like questions that are very palpable, or even like they'll probably hit you very deeply maybe. But we just want to clarify that this is just for the benefit of you and to help you navigate those conversations. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, that's why the title is called "Let Me Go." I think it's kind of referring to the child's perspective of, you have to let me live my own life independently. And although that you can be dependent on your parents in other ways, like you still have to go about your own path of life, and don't let anything prevent that from happening. I'm talking too much again. So here we are. Episode 1 of another project, possibly, "Let Me Go." So the question at hand, which we didn't prepare extensively about, but we just want to talk about it from the heart and from the get-go, is your view on career. So parents ideally would want their kids, and they always talk about how like they envision a future for them and all these things. Even like when you were born, like they already visualize you're going to be a doctor or something, right? When you come out of the path of life, from the pregnancy to the real world, they already have this set kind of occupation for you. So can you talk about that? Like, how do you view that? Because I know that you started off as in media, and then now you're a teacher, but your parents probably didn't say, "Hey, you're going to be in media. Hey, you're going to be a teacher." So how did that start off?
Yeah, like what I said in the previous episode, you do not allow anybody to push you for what you want to be. It has to come from your heart. That's what you want to be, and don't let anybody push you to be somebody that you don't want to be. So the first thing that you really need is the support of your parents. And I think that's where the problem is, because we most of the time we think our parents already have your career ready, and they push you to, follow up their dreams instead of your dream. So that's where the problem lies.
So why do you think that problem exists in the first place? Why do you think they already have these preconceived notions of where a child should go even before the child can think for itself?
Actually, from my perspective as a parent, it's usually their dreams that they did not fulfill. So they want to see that dream fulfilled by you because you are the child. So that's why they push you. Okay? But there are three reasons why parents are so hard to approach. The first one is, of course, the generation gap. They grew up in a different generation, and you have a different generation. You're more open to, perspectives and things in life, and they have like a closed mind of what they want you to be. The other one is because they think that we have three jobs as parents. We are supposed to nurture you, we're supposed to educate you, and the last one, we need to guide you. So that third part, they forget that we are supposed to release you in the world and then just guide you to what you want to be and have your own career and be independent from us. So that's a problem. They get stuck with educate you, and then they think they can hold you in the neck and teach you what you want to be. So you have to open that communication gap between your parents so that you can talk to them freely.
Right. And all of that boils down to them just ensuring that you have a happy life, right?
Correct.
But what you're saying is that their definition of a happy life is drastically different from the child's. But they want to like kind of place that interpretation of a happy life onto their kid, right? Because that's what their interpretation was, or things like that. So how do you think children, or I don't want to say children because it sounds like little kids are asking, which is, the earlier the conversation happens, the better. How do you think they should navigate that conversation with their parents, especially if they grow up in a household, like an Asian household with tiger parents, right, where they're already going to be a doctor, an engineer, or something preset for them that they've never even tried out in the first place.
Yeah.
So how do you think they should navigate that? So this is mostly, I think, towards a demographic that they don't know how to start that conversation because they don't want to break,
Correct.
right? Because I think the fear from the child's perspective is that they don't want to shatter the dreams of their parents. It's always we talked about in Filipino, like it's utang ng loob, which is like indebtedness.
Correct.
Like you're indebted to your parents because they care for you and you want to make them proud in that way. And, from my perspective, I know that there are now, like I'm older and I never realized that until I was like maybe, or just recently, that there are many avenues in which you can make your parents proud, right?
Correct.
And it's not just occupational wise. It's not about the job that you get. It's about how you can provide for your family. And then at the end of the day, when your family looks at you, they just want to see that you can provide for yourself most of all, I think. But
Correct.
for those people that want to take that step in the right direction, or hopefully just in a direction in general to navigate that conversation, how do you think they should begin that conversation?
Okay, as I told you, the first thing that you have to think about is the communication gap. So you need to open that up, So you have to find the right moment. Remember, your parents are always tired because they are the breadwinners and they work hard for you. So you have to find the right moment when they are in their best mood, and then you sit them down and talk to them. Okay, open that communication gap properly. Then when they're in a good mood, then they are ready to listen to you. So don't shock them. Talk to them with like by episode. You start with the good things before you go to your real goal. So set the right moment, and then when you see that they're ready to listen, and then you talk to them about your goals. So don't let them feel like you have the set goals already. Just let them know that you are heading towards that goal, so they know that they can still interfere and guide you and advise you as to what to do. Okay, but once they tell you that no, I don't want that, I want you to be this, I want you to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher, then stop it right there and find again another moment that you can talk to them and open that communication gap. Because there is what we call a frustration level when you talk to each other. So when you reach that point, be sure you stop and you continue again some other day when you can see that your parents are ready to listen to you. Because the hardest thing for a parent is to listen to their children talk to them. They're not used to that. They're used to them telling you what to do. So now that you are telling them what you want to be and what you want to do in your life, that is very hard for them. Okay? So always open that communication gap and see to it that they are in the right mood to listen to you. But if you reach a frustration level, stop and continue again some other day.
So I'll ask the question, but I'm just thinking of what people are thinking. But what if, there are some households, not like ours, of course, where it's like it's pretty open. We used to live, when I was growing up, it was really intense, but it didn't ever seem like there was a right moment, like there was a right time. So what about that? Like for people that are listening, they're like, what if there's no right time? What if the parent is always angry or always frustrated and always tired? Because we always have those parents that come home and they're really tired and they don't have any room for conversation, especially that kind of levity where it's really, really heavy for them to kind of, to really take in. So how would you navigate a scenario where your parent is there's never a right time, or it feels like there's never a right time?
Well, there really is the right moment with your parents. Or like you're relaxing, you're at the table. There is that moment in a day wherein your parents are so relaxed and then they have that moment that they can listen and sit down. But if they are still busy working, maybe preparing in the kitchen, doing things like that, then you know that's not the right moment. Only when they sit down and relax after dinner, maybe they're, sipping their coffee or tea, then you know that they're relaxed and they are ready to talk. So you have to find that right moment. There is such a thing as the right moment to talk to your parents, and that's the time that you look for in a day so that you can sit down and talk to them seriously.
Mm-hmm. So finding those windows of opportunity.
Yes.
Even if the parent is notorious for having a very ill temper, like throughout the entire year, then there are always those moments where, like you're saying, there's like those decompressing moments that they have. But what if you interpret it like, so I'm just seeing it from the child's perspective again, but it's like, what if you feel guilty, like you don't want to ruin their decompression time, like when they're relaxing. I feel like bringing up that conversation might ruin their relaxation time. So how would you go about that? Like not feeling like, how would you get past that guilt to, it's like, okay, this is the moment I got to do it, because, you can think all these thoughts in your head, all the dialogue that you're potentially going to tell to your parents. But I think a majority of people lack the action, right? Because we always are held back by guilt or fear or things like that. So how would you do that? How would you get over the feeling of guilt that you're going to ruin said parents' relaxation time, that right moment?
No, actually, sometimes it's not too obvious, but parents love to listen to their children. They do. They love you too much that they cannot just not spare you a moment if you want them to listen to you. So don't get that wrong notion that they don't care, they don't want to listen, they're too tired. No. They love you and they will listen to you, but you just have to find the right moment. They will listen to you because they love you and they want to know also what's going on in your life. But some kids have that wrong notion that, oh, they don't have time for me. They're too busy. But they do. They do have that moment. You just have to find it. That's what we call the communication breakdown gap. That's when you find it in a day and then catch that moment and sit down and talk to them.
Awesome. So again, this is just a disclaimer that this is for listeners to have trouble navigating the conversation, that, that really value their parents' opinion of them or things like that. And they feel like they can't move forward without getting the approval of their parents or blessings. But there are times where, like you said, that they do reject the notion, that they don't accept what you're saying. Like they don't accept that you're going to go down that path. Like, for instance, someone that's destined to be a doctor, but they've always had passion for like film or being a writer or being in media, and their parents are just saying, no, that's not what we envision for you. So when they break down that iron gate, that iron curtain for between the parent and the child, how do you how do you bounce back from that?
If you feel like they're not going to listen to you, as I said, deep down, even if you feel like your parents don't love you or don't have time for you, deep down, you're the most important person in their lives. That's why they work so hard. It's for you. They educate you and they want you to start your career so that you can be independent someday. So don't think they don't have time for you. No, you are their world. They always have time for you, but you just have to find that right moment. Because as I told you, they are busy in their lives, making a living so that they can give you a good life someday.
Nice. And I think, especially me going through this, at an early age as well, what do you recommend do you recommend that those that were, let's just say, were theoretically rejected from their parents from like going down that path or such, do you think they should not pursue it because they said no, or do you think they should just at least try and do it? Like, do you think they should still attempt to go down that path that they're really thinking of? They know deep down that's really for them.
Yes. If they reject you, you follow your heart, not your parents. Your parents are going to get old and die, and you are the one left in this world to deal with. So you don't follow what they tell you if that's not what you want to be. You have to still follow your heart and be what you want to be and strive for that. And then someday, when they see that your career is so good and you're doing the right thing in life, they will learn to accept it, that they made a mistake. And they will accept what you are and how successful you are.
Yeah, that was really good. I was about to ask you too, is like, do you think that there's a level of acceptance when they see that there is some sort of success for you if you go down it? So you recommend to listeners to take that first step in that direction, that you still, like, again, like, you shouldn't be held back by your parents' approval. Like, you should approve yourself and move forward with it regardless, and just let the work speak for itself, basically.
Correct, yeah. Because someday you will be successful and they'll see it. And then they'll admit that they were wrong. But at least you're already in the right track. Rather than following them, you're so unhappy and you won't be successful, because you have to be happy to be successful. So let them see it someday. Do what you want to be, do what you want to do, and be what you want to be. And then they will see it someday that you were right.
Yeah. That makes me think about families that, let's say that every familial generation is a specific occupation. So like, let's say like your mom and dad are doctors, their mom and dad were doctors. So it just seems like a very lineage thing to do. But then let's say that you were born and you decide you don't want to be a doctor, you want to be like a lawyer. So your parents and the family are like, what are you doing? We're all doctors. Your family's a doctor. Like Joe Coy's like, your mom's not a clown. Your dad's not a clown. Why do you want to be a clown, right?
That's right.
So, but the thing is, at the end of the day, when you look back, or like you go down generations further, like those are the craziest families where they have the most diverse occupations that, all of a sudden they're all doctors and now they're like lawyer and they're doing different things. And I think those are the most admirable families, like especially this one where there's so many siblings each generation that everyone's doing their own thing.
Correct.
And it's like, it's more exciting. Like there's more excitement to it, because you're not just talking about a single thing at the table, but like, oh my gosh, I did surgery on this one guy.
Yeah.
But rather you're talking about like a very colorful palette of scenarios that happen throughout the day. So
Correct.
just from my own personal experience sitting at the table with our family, there's very different conversations that happen.
Yeah.
Yes, there's very different opinions too. But I think when it goes back to occupation, which is the topic of today's episode, it adds a little more excitement. Like the more you challenge the norm, especially you coming from a family of 9 children, right? You have 9 siblings.
10.
Sorry, 10. And you all did different things. Like no one overlapped in any sort of way.
Right.
But your parents were accepting of that. Like they're just like, okay, you can just do whatever.
Yeah, they love it because we talk of different things. There's a variety of things on the table, and they love it because, one will talk about the teaching job, another one will talk about this art, being an art expert. So it's like different topics. It's not boring. If you're all teachers, you will just be talking about teaching. But we all had different careers, and then we bring into the table the exciting part of our career, and it's a variety of topics, and it's just so exciting.
Can you think, that was great. Can you think of, oh, actually, sorry. I'm trying to think of a question on the spot. Do you think that your parents' acceptance of your career path has played a role in your life till this day?
Oh, yes. It plays a big role if your parents accept you for what you are or what you become. It is the number one encouragement or your motivation to be successful is if your parents are happy with your career and that you are contributing to the family, the pride of the family, that you have become somebody in the family.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the pride. I think you're right. Like, I think they're just, at the end of the day, I think the quote that sums everything up is that your family is happy when you're happy, because you can be working like a job that you hate and you want to contribute to your family financially or whatever. But then I think they loathe just seeing you home, just lifeless. They rather have someone that's really happy, and maybe you're not earning as much, but you're not compromising your happiness for, that financial contribution. Like, rather, you're contributing just something in general, just by being there as a contribution. They enjoy having you, maybe. But can you think of a scenario, just to flip it a little bit, can you think of a scenario with like a friend or a family member or whoever that went through a scenario where their parents weren't accepting, but they still continued down the path that they chose?
Yeah, we had one cousin that the mother wanted her to be a teacher because the mother was a teacher and the aunt was a teacher, and the mother was pushing her to be a teacher, but she wanted to be a lawyer. So she defied her mother. She lived with us because my mom doesn't push any of us. And in their household, she was pushed to become somebody she didn't want to be. So she lived with us, and my mom just allowed her to be what she wanted to be. So she turned out to be a lawyer of the University of the Philippines, one of our top schools there, and she became the best lawyer in the family. So later on, the parents realized that and wanted her back in their household so that she could be contributing to the family, like if they have legal problems, then she can be their lawyer. But her allegiance was to my mom. So she never moved back, but she still helped her family. But she was always there with us and helping us with our problems rather than the problems of her family. And she was happy with what she became. And she was so thankful to my mom that my mom just, allowed her to be what she wanted to be. And she became the best. And that's what's going to happen to you if you follow what you want to be. And if you're happy, you will be successful, and you will see, you will even be the best in that career. You'll never know down the road.
So I think the implication too was you should flock towards the people that do support you, and probably just cut out the people that tell you you can't do it, right? It's like, no, don't do it. But you should definitely surround yourself with people that are going to believe in your own vision for yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really good. I'm trying to think of other questions, but I think you answered pretty much all of them. That was really good. Thank you for that and everything.
Yeah. Another thing I want to repeat is be sure you choose a career where you can be happy, because that is the secret. If you are not happy in what you're doing, you're in the wrong career and you will never be successful, because success follows happiness. You have to do something that comes from your heart, and don't let anybody push you to become what you don't want to be, and always be happy, because then that's when you become successful in your career. Then you can go back to your parents and make them happy as well.
Oh, that was great. Actually, that opens up another question now.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
It's a lot of questions. So for those listeners that have no idea what they want to do, maybe they because I firmly believe that everyone is destined for greatness in their own right, and everyone has a vision, but it is clouded by media and like what we see other people are doing. So we never really have a really raw vision of what we envision for ourselves, basically. But for those that don't really know what they want to do yet, and let's just say that their parents, the fear of their parents' rejection of what they might choose is paralyzing them. So what do you think, what's some advice that you can give that person that doesn't know where to start yet, doesn't know what makes them passionate yet, doesn't know what career path they want to go down yet? So what is your word of advice for that? Because you fell into teaching like randomly, right?
Right.
So these are things that you kind of had open arms with, and you just loved it by doing, I think. So what is your advice for those individuals?
Well, actually, your college life helps you. That's why there are 4 years in college, because the first 2 years you are really not sure what you want to do. So those first 2 years is the time for you to think and feel what is it you want to be in your life. It's not too late. They give you 2 years of that. And by the end of your second year, you will really feel it, what you want to be, because you're exposed to the university environment or college environment, and then you will pick it up from different friends. You will pick up the career that you want to be. It will just hit your heart, and then you'll feel so delighted and happy to pursue that. So that's the second, third, and fourth part of your college life. That's when you get serious, and then you go find your course that you want to be, and that's also the time when your subjects become serious, because you're heading already towards your career. Because that happened to me too. I didn't know what I wanted to be, and then I just, in the campus, I kind of picked it up. Oh, I like that. I think I like that media job, because there were a lot of media kids around me, and they were always happy. They were sharing, they were doing a lot of activities, and my heart just kind of leapt up, and I said, oh my God, that's what I want to do. So on my third year in college, I was already sure I was going to go for mass communication, and I was going to be happy, and I'm going to pursue that career. And it sure did. It built up in my heart that that's what I wanted to do. So in my third year, I became serious. I got the subjects that I needed. And in my fourth year, I was really sure that is the career I want to head on, my path in my career life. So you'll feel it. That's why you have 4 years of college. Don't take those 2 year associate, you cannot think what you want to be. Take the 4 year course, and the first 2 years, think about it, and then be serious in your third and fourth year. And then you'll be happy in graduation that you chose that career.
I think a lot of college students don't think that the first 2 years are kind of just a teaser, like just idea. Like again, like it's a lot of them see all 4 years as specific parts. Like they're like all the same, but they're not. They're very different. Unless you're on a specific career path where like you need to, like, pre-medical, like you have to ensure that you're getting these A's and stuff. But if you're not really sure, then that's very good advice. The first 2 years at least are very experimental and like exploratory. Like you should be exploring things. And then for those of you that don't have it figured out by your end of your second year, there is a place for you as well. I think for the first 2 years as well, on top of your classes, like you're saying, that there are other things outside of the classroom that you can attempt, like extracurriculars, whatever you gravitate towards, just sign up for anything. There are some clubs out there that do require you to interview and things like that. It's a little harder to get into, but for some clubs, they'll take a risk on you, right? Like they'll just say, okay, let's see where this guy goes. And that's will take you in many different places. So that's speaking on my behalf. I didn't have it figured out by the end of the second year, but looking back, looking back when I was in my fourth year, I already knew that, I was majoring in biology and I love science, and I love science in general, but I couldn't envision myself working in a laboratory, not talking to people. And I've always been a talker, and the reason I'm a talker because I do appreciate the ebb and flow of relationships. And that's something that really reflected in my activities that I partook in outside of the classroom. So whether that be, the cultural night or like organizations like the music fraternity that would give back to the community, things like that. And it really influenced me and who I am today, because if I just opted into the pre-medical path where I just become a laboratory assistant or things like that, I knew I wouldn't be living up to the relationships I could potentially have if I closed myself to the opportunity to have those relationships and talk with those people. And I went on to, like work for startups where I was talking to people, and I was much more happier, I think, because there was more space to move, I think, for, in my opinion, there was much more space for me to move personally. And like the movie we just recently watched, I think, had a really important point that like, there was a movie called Big Fish, and then there was a section where he made an analogy that he was like a goldfish. And the reason he said that is because he read it in an encyclopedia. He was saying that goldfish can grow 3 times their normal size if they're put in an expansive environment, if they're open to opportunity. But if you enclose them in a glass bowl where they have very limited movement and limited room to move, then they end up just remaining small. So I think that's really applicable to, and I think that's the takeaway of the movie, because that movie was really weird. But yeah, like put yourself in environments where you feel expansive, like you don't feel restricted in any sort of way. And if that laboratory setting suits you, like if you feel expansive there because you do handle a lot of data and things like that, like if you're pre-med and you enjoy that, like all the more to you. I'm not disclaiming or devaluing working in a lab. It just wasn't for me. And knowing what works for you and what doesn't work for you is probably the most important question. The second question that's really important. The first one is, what do you want?
Yeah.
All right. Not you, not your parents. Like, what do you want? And that's the whole point of this
always you.
conversation. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, that happened to me about when I graduated from mass communication and applied in ABC. They put me in the commercials department. And in commercials department, you don't have anybody to talk to. Just the one that runs the reels, for your commercial that you put together for the whole day. So I said, this is not the life for me, because I like to talk. I like to be sociable, I like to be around people. So I think God listened and then made me a teacher. So as a teacher, you're not alone. You have a lot of kids that are your responsibility, to make them smart and make them responsible someday. So I think God answered me because I kept complaining. I said, I'm just in the commercials department. I have no one to talk to. I only have tapes that I have to fix, then give it to the person that runs the tapes the whole day. So I kept complaining. I said I went to media because I want to be able to be with people. I wanted actually to be a camera woman. I like to run the cameras, in films, documentaries, things like that. But then they put me in the commercials department on TV. So that wasn't what I envisioned for my life to be in mass communication. So I think God pulled me out of there, although the salary was nice and very fitting for my lifestyle, but still God pulled me out after 20 years and put me as a teacher where I can have a lot of people around me, especially the children that I love. So that really actually happened to me.
And then, like you said, you're like kind of a little bit loathing of working in commercials, but from other conversations, it seemed like you kind of enjoyed it. Like you made the most of it, right? You built relationships with your boss and like your coworkers, and you even had perks, right? You even went to see Michael Jackson. Like you got free tickets for things.
I get always free tickets to shows because, if I put their commercials in, then they give me tickets to whatever it is. Like Pepsi Cola gave me for the Michael Jackson show that came to Jacksonville, Florida. So if you put in all their commercials in time, then they sometimes give you gifts. Yeah,
which is crazy. So it seems like even though the job itself seemed limited, you found a way to make it a little bit more broader and expansive for you. So you still lasted there for a while, and then you finally found teaching, which you soon found out was more suitable for you. And you're how old when you found teaching?
I was already old because I worked for ABC for 5 years before I became a teacher. I think I became a teacher when I was 35 years old, something like that.
So finding what you truly love and where you're truly going to walk down is not dependent on age. It's not restricted to how old you're going to be. And it'll hit you like a bus sometimes, like just teaching found you, right? And you just got to be, I think at the end of the day, just very embracing of those opportunities. Again, trying to make the most out of everything, even though that you might not like it. Maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel where you can make it a great opportunity and you can meet new people that may help you down the road. And not like transactional though, like don't like think that going into a job you're like, oh, what can I get out of this person? But it's like, how much can I contribute? Because you're going to receive tenfold from the universe, I think, right? As you said.
And never make money as your motivation. Money doesn't help. It has to be something that you like to do and that you're happy with. Never the money.
All right. To recap, um, how would how could we not navigate conversations with our parents regarding our careers in the early stages, of course, when it feels like we're so dependent on the opinion and approval of our parents for our career paths? What's the one advice you'd give people?
Again, know what you want to be. Don't let anybody push you. And you need to be happy. And you have to find it in your heart that that's what you want to do. Because that's going to be your career. That's going to be lifetime. So you have to find the right career that that you are happy with, that you really want to do in your life. And the parents are just secondary. After you graduate, because that's still part of our job is to educate you. After you graduate, their role is just to guide you in your career. So don't let them choose it for you. You've got to choose what you want to be so that your career is gonna go lifetime and you will be happy.
It's very controversial saying put your parents second, or not put them second, but put their opinion. Not don't make their opinion first in your life. I think that's a good advice. What about people that have no idea what they want to do yet?
As I said, if you go to 4 years of college, the first 2 years, that's your thinking time. So you got to think and feel what you want to be. So you got to be around the campus, look at the activities, and pick up what your heart likes to do. Because it will just, come. And you will find something that you get excited. And then you want to do it. And then that's going to be like your career. And also feel around, in the environment of your school is where you can pick up your career, because that's different kinds. It's a diversity of people and a diversity of needs and likes, and you can pick it up from there and be sure that you are happy and excited to do it. Then that is your career.
Right. And even outside of college, even if you're prior to entering college, like if you're still in high school or younger, or even outside of college, like afterwards, like post-graduation, then still embrace those opportunities and see where it leads you, I think. Because even if you don't figure out, like we said, like you don't figure out in college, then, you have your whole life ahead of you. Like every moment of each day can be spent just reflecting on what you want. Like you're not restricted to an institution to tell you what you need to do. Like there are other opportunities that you can undertake, like interning somewhere that you might like. And if you don't like it, then at least that's one thing off of your list that you don't like it, right? So I think that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the people around you that can help you, because you will hear their, ideas, their joys, their their disappointments. I'm sorry. So you will feel it. You listen to the people around you, especially in the campus, because in the campus there's a diversity of different, ideas and opinions from different students, and that's where you pick it up.
Sweet. Yeah. That's good advice. Thank you for that. Well, yeah. Well, this was very encouraging. In turn, we had a conversation between just me and her, but hopefully this was helpful. This is, again, just a disclaimer. This isn't any, official advice or anything. This is supposed to be taken lightly, and if you find something helpful within this conversation, then hopefully she helped you, because I didn't say anything, helped you navigate that conversation, or hopefully open up the opportunity to have that conversation with your parents, because we both agreed that it's very tough, and I personally went through it too, right? You can clearly see there's another parent missing here that I had talked to many, many times, several times over, but it worked out, and, we're still together. Like I haven't, the love's still there. So just make sure to take the leap of faith. Like, I think the main takeaway of this is just take that leap of faith for yourself. Like you said, like your parents are gonna be long gone and you're still probably gonna be here. So what are you gonna do then? That's the question. And that's a question you have to answer for yourself. So thank you for this. This is really fun. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is, because I like to be able to help you, especially the millennials, because your world is so chaotic. So if I can help you in a way, I'm happy. Also, don't forget, I am the parent's point of view, okay? So you have your own point of view, and I am on the parent side point of view, because I think like a parent. So when I give you an advice, that's a parent point of view.
And I'm a child, so I think of a child's point of view, of course. So had no idea what we're going to name this podcast. Where hopefully this will get off the ground if we take enough initiative, and hopefully this was actionable and helpful for a lot of people. Not quite sure, right? Like, it's dependent on the audience. I think we're just still going to keep doing this and try to figure out topics that we can talk about that are labeled as taboo or, stigmatized, like things that you shouldn't be talking about with your parents. But yeah, we'll see where this goes. We're thinking of Let Me Go.
Yeah, I like that topic. Let me go. I'm free. I need to build my career.
So yeah, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
It's been a great time. Thank you so much.
I hope I have helped a lot of you. And think about it, okay?
I guarantee you have. I'm pretty sure this is very helpful. So, all right, guys. Well, we'll catch you in the next one.
All right. See you next time.
Thank you for having us. Bye.
Bye.
All right, good.
Does it helpful?
No.